afternoon, listeners. This is the Renee Show, and we're currently live on Smooth 90.5 FM HD Radio. Today, we're going to discuss a little bit about what mold is and how it can make you sick, things that you can do to remedy mold, and different types of mold. And if we still have time afterwards, I'd like to jump into some more budgeting information, if you will. You guys stick with us. We are going to go ahead and get you in the know and tell you what we're going to talk about. So we're going to start off and talk about mold. So what is mold, you may ask? If you run into mold in your home or in your apartment complex or your condo complex, you'll know that you're running into mold because it's kind of a moldy, wet, stinky kind of smell. That's your first realization that there is mold on the premises. So you want to make sure that that you are distinct in knowing that you have mold. Now, typically, mold is black. We're talking about the black mold that can make you sick, that can really kind of make you dysfunctional. And a lot of times, people don't even know that they're living with mold. There are a lot of adults who are consistently sick, and they're not sure why, and that may be because you're living with mold. So, mold is really terrifying. It's not a good thing to see, and actually, it's kind of scary. I remember when I was a real estate broker, I had an investor, and a lot of times investors look at properties that are cheaper, and typically they have mold in them. Well, this particular property was a building, a 4-year old flat, and this property, I knew that there was mold in the property because as soon as I stepped through the doorway, I had like a coughing attack, or I could not stop coughing because the mold had gotten into my lungs, and it made it very difficult for me to breathe. And this particular property had floor to ceiling mold. Now, it's not something that you should necessarily be afraid of, and especially if you're an investor and have a budget to repair the property and to get the property back in working order. It shouldn't be something that scares you. Usually, a construction crew or a contracted crew can go ahead and remedy that with no problem. But if you're a homeowner and you see mold, you want to be careful with that because for you personally, for your children, for any family members, for even the dog, you don't want to be breathing that stuff in. It's very dangerous, and it can really be harmful and can actually really even kill you. So we want to just go ahead and just briefly discuss, what mold is and why is it that mold makes me sick. So, like I said, it can make your family sick and it looks disgusting. So sometimes, mold can be on the floor, it can be on the ceiling, it can be on, your walls, it can be anywhere. You just kind of have to look. And there are a lot of times where if you're living in an apartment situation, where there are some apartment complexes that think that they can kind of just hide the situation. They may come into the apartment and paint over it. That's not a way to remedy mold. You actually have to really get rid of it. I have some tips. Now, I'm not necessarily in favor of trying to clean mold up. I think that you really need to get rid of the the drywall or the ceiling or the floor area that the mold is concentrated in, because there's things with mold called spores. So it's similar to even the mold that may grow on bread. If you have bread sitting around on your cabinets too long, you'll notice that it goes bad and there's mold there, or penicillin. This is a different type of mold that we're talking about today. We're talking about black mold. And this black mold is not something that you can really clean up, in my opinion. And because I'm a real estate broker, I definitely want to give you guys all of the information on cleaning up mold, and as well some types of mold you can't clean up on your own. So just going into that, you want to test for mold. Now, I know that a lot of homeowners, when you say you want to test, you kind of freak out. Yeah, because testing for mold can be very expensive. It can actually get up to $830 to sometimes $850 at a time. But wouldn't it be worth paying $850 to stay alive, to make sure that your children are not inhaling dangerous mold that can affect them for the rest of their life? There's pros and cons to everything. So you may really want to consider just go ahead and getting your place tested. But if you walk in and you see this black mold on the wall, you pretty much know I have mold. So, you may not need the test, but you do want to make sure that you can remedy it or get rid of it. Now, if it's a small area, generally less than 10 square feet, you can pretty much do that on your own. There are products at, Home Depot, Menards, there are different manufacturers that create mold repair or repellent that you can buy. If it's a small area, now if your entire basement is covered with mold, guys, we need to call a professional. And all of that needs to be ripped out because mold is not something that you can really just wipe away. And I also want to discuss with you the difference between, because there are different types of mold. So there's black mold, which I'm talking about today, and then there's also mildew, which is a type of mold, which may show up in your shower and your bathtub, and that you can clean away. I mean, they definitely have products that so that you can wipe the mildew away and use your shower and be comfortable and happy. But this particular mold is not as such. This is a mold that, it eats away at your walls, it eats away at the floors, it can really damage the property, and you gotta really be careful with that. So we wanna just make sure that depending on the size of the mold, and I'm definitely an advocate to just say, just have a professional come out and clean it up. But I know that that can be costly as well. But you just want to be careful that you're not, sometimes you can leave mold, and, mold carries spores, like I said before, and spores fly. They fly all over. So honestly, everyone is really encountered with mold. It just depends on how much mold is there because that can become hazardous to your health. Now, we all face mold every day, but it depends on the amount of moisture that's in the home or in the office. It depends on a lot. If it's wetness, you know that there's probably a lot of built up mold somewhere hiding, and if you look for it, more than likely you will be able to locate it and find it. But if you if you notice just a lot of moisture in your house, and I think you guys know what I'm talking about, it's kind of wet. It's when you walk into an area that has mold, you know it. You know something is off and something is not right. It doesn't smell like a normal home. It doesn't smell like a normal hallway, and you know that you have an issue. And like I said, a lot of the times, we want to hire a professional to come out and remedy it. One, because they're going to do it correctly, and as well, they're going to make sure that they get rid of all the mold. They're not gonna, they're not gonna just clean a piece of your basement and then leave you with mold to grow again, unless for some reason, there's moisture built back up. Now, ways that we get mold from, for example, if you have a pipe that may burst in your house, that will bring mold into your house, and you want to make sure that, anytime if there's water damage or you spill water, that you get that cleaned up quickly. Because mold is right there waiting to come out and show its ugly face, and it does. And also, just a side note, typically homeowners insurance does not cover a mold remediation unless it's something like a pipe does burst, and then because the cleanup did not happen quite as fast, the home ended up, getting mold all over the basement and such as that. In that situation, typically your homeowner's insurance will cover that cost, but in general, they are not going to pay for it. So that's something that we need to know ahead of time. Obviously, if you have your home open to the elements, you have your windows open, and it's raining, anything can accumulate mold. And again, like I said, it's not healthy for yourself or for your kid. Now, if you're not aware of any toxic mold like black mold in your home, just keep your eye out for it because it can happen anytime. I remember I was living in an apartment complex at one point, and I had right in my hallway when I entered my door, I had this cute little table that I put up, and it was really just to hold my keys. And when I walk through the door, I'm running out, I can grab a key or a notebook or something like that. And when I moved from that location, when I moved that table, there were tons of black mold. I mean, it is absolutely disgusting. It's not something that's something that you would be excited about at all. And the thing that aggravated me the most is that the entire time that I was in the apartment, I was breathing in these mold spores, and I had no idea. And obviously, the apartment complex was not going to assist me because I had been, breathing in these spores, and it really could have made me sick. I remember being sick a lot actually at that apartment complex, and now I know the reason why. So even moving forward, if you're sick on a regular basis, your grandparents, your parents, or yourself, and you don't know why you keep getting sick, you just don't understand why, you're going to the doctor and they're looking at you like you're healthy, and you very well may be. But if you're breathing in mold spores, it can definitely make you sick. There are some vascular problems like, issues with hemorrhaging in your on your tissues or in your lungs. There are digestive problems, for example, like diarrhea, vomiting, hemorrhage, or liver damage that can occur from just breathing in these mold spores. It's very serious. You can even have respiratory problems, like, for example, trouble breathing or bleeding from your lungs. Um, there are also some neurological issues that can happen, like headaches or depression. If you notice yourself in a depression a lot, and there's really no reason behind it, you may want to come out and test your home. And they're testing the home for spores, which are just the little bits and pieces that come from mold, and they fly around your house. So you may not see evidence of like black mold in your face, but you may be breathing it in on a regular basis if it's under your cabinet, if you have a leaky faucet in your kitchen or in your bathroom. Make sure that you're checking these areas for this possible mold, because it definitely is something that can make you very sick. There are also some immune problems that can happen, and reproductive problems that can happen, like infertility. So, and also skin rashes. Those things you want to make sure that you're paying attention to, because they come up and it can look maybe like a heat rash, but you want to make sure that you're trying to get to the source of the problem. You want to make sure what's going on in your household, so that yourself and your children and your family are not getting sick. So some common symptoms, like I said, when I walked into this multi-unit with this client, I had this coughing attack. So some of the kind of common symptoms of mold, right when you walk in, especially if it's a lot of it, it can be coughing or wheezing. You can get sinus problems or postnasal drip. You can also get an itchy rash or some joint pains. All of these things are come from mold, and these are some of the effects that mold can give to us as human beings, or not even human beings. Anyone, any pets, anything living in the household can be affected by this. So, like I said, you can have muscle or joint pain. You also will get headaches, anxiety, depression. You have memory loss, fatigue, immune system disturbances, shortness of breath. So you want to be careful. If all of these things are happening, you want to make sure that you're checking your house, or have someone check your house for you. Someone that, I know that our eyesight is not always 20/20, but if you don't have good eyes, make sure you have someone that has great eyes come and just take a look at your property and see if they notice any black mold at all in any areas with moisture, which can be the basement, that can be the kitchen underneath the sink, like we talked about. That could be the bathroom, right around the bathtub, and underneath the sink as well. Anywhere where there's a lot of moisture, that's where mold grows. So some of the favorite places, like I said, for mold, it may be behind or under your appliances even. Roof leaks. Be careful with that. If you have a leaky roof, I hate to say it, more than likely, depending on how long your roof has been leaking, you probably have some mold issues in there. And you just want to be careful. High humidity areas in your home, like your basement, places that, are, just have a lot of moisture. You want to just make sure that, you're doing your best to remedy that. And one way to remedy that is to get a humidifier or a dehumidifier, just to kind of get some of that moisturous air out of the way, so that mold does not have an opportunity to grow. So, that there are different types of mold, and mold can grow on wood, paper, tile, sheetrock, leather, fabrics, food. It can grow anywhere. It's everywhere. And we just want to make sure that we're being careful that, we're not breathing this stuff in, and that we're not inhaling it. So So, a test is deadly. And a lot of people don't realize, like I said, that it can kill you, and it gets them extremely sick. I don't even want to say that it just happens to the older generation. It can happen to a child. I have another story. I have a lot of stories about mold because, in my days as a real estate broker, I did run into quite a bit of mold. I had a family member that was living in an apartment complex as well and had a little child that lived with them. And in their particular room, there was an absorbent amount of mold, And, I noticed, because my eye is kind of like catches everything, noticing, okay, this rug doesn't look so good, or, these carpets they look pretty bad, or, it looks like there's something wrong on the wall. And it was mold. And what the apartment complex did was paint over it. Well, that's not helping the situation. And you're still breathing in that toxic mold that you don't want to breathe in. And even worse, there was a child there. I mean, not to say that it's better or worse for a child, for a senior, or for an adult. It's bad for everyone. But when you have your child in your apartment with you, and there's mold in there, they're breathing it in on a daily basis. I mean, it can really, really, really make them sick. And like I said, even to the point of possible death. So if mold is present, you want to make sure that you get that remedy, and especially if you're in an apartment complex, you tell them that, hey, there's mold growing on my wall, and I noticed that you painted over it, and that does not remedy the problem, and I want you to get in here and have this removed because it is so dangerous. That is a problem. And that is something that they should remedy and not just try and cover it up. And they know better. They know better. So you want to make sure that you have a high quality air purifier, and that can control your mold toxin. Or, like I said, get professional remediation, which can be costly, but it's worth it. It's worth it to just get rid of all of that mold and, like I said, to move on with the rest of your life. And then you'll know you're not getting sick because of a mold issue or something such as that. So we're going to talk a little bit more about mold. I think we're going to take a quick break. And this is the Sarah Renee Show here on Smooth 90.5 FM HD Radio.
Yeah, a little bit more. Yeah, perfect. You feel comfortable? You can push it back.
I just don't want to mess with you.
No, no, no. No, you're not going to mess it up. Well, I have it set. Also, when you, this is something else you need to learn. See where it says at the top? See, I can see your meters. I can see your levels. This is the live. Okay? This system right here, I can see messages. Go back live. I want you, when you go back on, hi, we're back on Smooth 90.5 FM with the Sarah Renee Show. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, we're back with Smooth 90.5 FM, HD Radio, and this is the Sarah Renee Show. And today we're talking about mold. I know that mold is a very interesting thing that we're talking about today, but I think it's very important because I don't know if you guys were listening to the show previous to our commercial break. Mold can be very, very dangerous for yourself, for your parents, for your grandparents, for your children as well. So I'm going to just go quickly into a clip that I have just about how mold can make you sick. So bear with me, guys. I'm going to go ahead and get this clip rolling, and then we're going to go ahead and talk some more about mold. So mold, you know when you're running into mold because it's black, it's nasty, it just looks gross, and you don't want to live with that, definitely. So you want to be careful, and you check your parents' house, check your grandparents' house. No one can be really too safe around mold. So that's what we are discussing today, and we're going to help you try and tell you how to remedy it. In my opinion, the best way to remedy mold is to call out a professional, make sure that they have gotten everything out, and that there's no danger of you breathing these products in at all anymore. But you can do it yourself. I don't want to go too far into that because, like I said, I definitely believe that it's such a serious deal that you should really try and just find someone to help you. If you have a family member that's good at remediating this real quick. Alright, so we're back. So pretty much that video just covered everything that we just talked about. And these are videos that you can definitely find all over. You can find information all over the internet. So you definitely want to make sure that you're in the know about mold and how to keep yourself and your children safe with mold, and as well your parents and grandparents as well. So just moving back into this topic about mold. So if you come in the house and you smell a moldy odor, excuse me. So a moldy odor, it may be moldy, it may be watery. I mean, for me, when I walk into a room and I smell mold,
I'm trying to get out the hood. They say they won't see me wet. They want to see you do good. Just never better.
There's mold on the premises. You may not have a nose for it, but you know that it smells different than just living in a normal household that you've been living in forever. It's a different smell. It's kind of a wet feeling as well. Even when you go down into the basement, it feels wet. And I can't really explain it, but anyone that has a moldy basement, you guys probably know what I'm talking about, because it's a weird feeling, but it's not normal. It's not like walking into a brand new house and you're ready to just hang out and have a good time. It's weird. It's wet. It's stinky. It's watery. So seeing signs of mold growth, definitely they're visible, and a lot of times when mold begins, you don't see it. But you can check around water leaks, if you had any type of past flooding, you know that there may be moisture around. And with these things, that's when you want to make sure that you're checking to make sure that you don't have mold in your house. If you've ever had recent water leaks or flooding or any type of condensation just sitting in the house, you want to make sure house or apartment or whatever, mold grows everywhere. So you want to just make sure that you're checking and you're double checking yourself. So if you have water leaks, some of the signs may be you'll see a little black crustiness or gray crustiness around the pipes. That more than likely is mold. If you look up to your ceiling and you see water spots are a great indicator of mold possibly being behind, the top of the ceiling or somewhere in the roof. Those are great indicators. Don't bypass that. You want to make sure that if you see signs like that you go ahead and notice them and don't just ignore it. It's a sign there that you have some water damage, and also if you have water damage on your ceiling, it may mean that you have a bad roof, and so you may want to work on that as well. But past flooding, definitely that's a true source of mold. Anywhere where water has been just kind of sitting stagnant is also a place where mold may come. So there are some toxic symptoms for mold, like we talked about, some headaches, shortness of breath, you can't breathe. It really does kind of take over. And it's a poison. It's something that you definitely do not want to live with. So how do you deal with mold in your home? Well, we talked about one good way. As I always think, call the mold guy. You can find any mold person in any phone book, any internet source. So how do you deal with your house and deal with mold in your home? You want to get the facts on mold. First off, mold is not a plant, it's not an animal, it's not anything like that. It's actually a fungus. And so, there's always a little bit of mold exposed everywhere. But if you can contain the moisture, the level of moisture in your home, you can really help to contain mold not kind of breaking out and making you sick. It's been around for about 400 million years, so it's not going anywhere. But you can't really avoid being exposed to it. We're all exposed. But like I said, if you can get a humidifier or something like that to remove some of the moisture from the air, you're better off. And then you want to figure out who should do the cleanup. So there are people out there that clean up mold, but you want to make sure whoever's cleaning it up is not just cleaning it up, but getting rid of it so that it doesn't come back, in which case you have to find someone else and pay a whole nother amount of money to get this remedied again, even though it wasn't remedied the first time. So we want to make sure that we're doing, our research as well. Again, if it's a small amount of mold, feel free to try and remedy it yourself, or ask your husband or your boyfriend, hey, I got some mold down here in the basement, it's just a little bit, can you fix it for me? Maybe they can help. But if they don't know what they're doing, or it's a large amount of mold, please don't leave that untouched. Let somebody who knows what they're doing, who handles mold in a safe way, come in and remedy that. Part of the issue with mold, again, is that it flies. So there are times where, you may think that you don't have a mold problem, but you have spores all over your house. You're breathing in spores, and that's definitely not a good thing. So in my advice, just, try and find someone to get it cleaned up for you. Even if you have to ask different members of your family to help chip in to get it remedied, you guys would be better off. It's much less than a hospital bill, I'll tell you that much, for respiratory problems, for lung problems, and things that continuously